Yo, what is going on, you guys? Bashtian here, and today, guys, I want to be going over some of the best ways and best cards to go ahead and counter the two best decks coming out of, or that just came out of, Cyberstorm Access for you guys. Purrely and Superheavy Samurai have been seeing a lot of hype recently, not only in the OCG list, but we're also seeing in the TCG list. We're seeing a lot of Superheavy Samurai actually do very, very well in the first locals. Of course, it's opening weekend, so you know we're still trying to get everything figured out. I've seen a few gold probably do well as well, so it's nothing set in stone, nothing concrete just yet, but I do want to make sure that you guys are all prepared for these matchups. So we're going to go over all of these as well, guys, for the counter guide. So I have everything listed up on here, so if you guys just want to go ahead and get the goo and leave, by all means feel free to go ahead and do so. But I'm going to go ahead and go over each and every single one of these. We can go ahead and make sure I give you guys the max value for them. So starting off first, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the cards that counter the Purrely strategy. So Purrely strategy is primarily going to be countered by any type of spot removal. Essentially, it's not by your card effects. So what do I mean by that, right? For example, let's take XYZ Encore for example, and I'm gonna be jumping around a little bit, but just bear with me. So the field spell for Purrely, I believe the continuous spell as well, says that if your opponent were to remove one of your Purrely monsters, I think you get special summon more, or you get recursion, or you get some type of other forms of advantage in that sense. So while a card like XYZ Encore that says that essentially you can go ahead and detach all materials from it and return it back to the extra deck, it's still being removed by your opponent, by the card effect of the opponent. So therefore your opponent's still going to go ahead and be able to get pluses off of it. So I believe the best way to go ahead and make sure that Purrely does not go off is to, first of all, if you can prevent it from stacking a whole bunch of materials under one Xyz and summoning Nor, I think you're going to be good to go from there. If you can find a way to get rid of a possibility of them summoning out Plump, I think it's going to be the best course of action for you. But these are all things I want to go ahead and put into action, guys. So number one, best cards are going to be Kaijus, right? So Kaijus, they're not being sent by card effects in any type of way. You're just tributing over a special summoning, and then you're good to go clean from there. Santa Claus has seen quite a bit of hype. But I think, anything that would tribute over. Now, cards that are not going to be good against this, of course, are going to be Raw Sphere mode. Cards like your Lava Golems, I don't think they're going to be very good, because Purrely doesn't need to summon more than one monster at a time, because they know if you destroy that one monster, they're going to get advantage. And then if you don't get rid of that one monster, then they get advantage. So regardless, Purrely is a very weird type of deck to go ahead and go up against. But if you're able to get rid of just that one monster with a tribute summoning condition, whatever you might want to call it, then that's going to be the best course of action for you. Whether you want to go with Gamma Seal, Kamungus, Santa Claus and Gamma Seal are going to be, for us budget players, are going to be the more pricier versions. I always say just go with Kamungus out of the Trap Trick structure deck. It's only 200 more attack than Gamma Seal, still equally as effective, and you just go ahead and take it from there. Next card I want to go ahead and check out is going to be Retaliating C. So this card reads, when your opponent activates a spell card that includes an effect that would special summon a monster, which is all of their quick list spells, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if summoned this way while this card is face up on your field, any card sent to the graveyard is banished instead. So what that means is that they're not going to be able to go ahead and keep attaching materials from the graveyard, because there's not going to be materials in the graveyard to go ahead and take. So that's going to be a huge win for you guys as well. Another card that follows a similar example is actually going to be DD Crow. DD Crow is actually going to be really, really good in this upcoming format. Not the best hand trap, but against specific decks, especially these two decks, that's why I have it up here and down there as well. I think this is going to be really good against Purrely, just because with Purrely you're going to have to target spell traps from the graveyard to go ahead and add them back, and that's where Bystials really aren't going to do anything, because Bystials have to target a light or a dark monster. DD Crow can target whatever is in your opponent's graveyard and just banish that thing, get it out of here. So that's going to be why DD Crow is probably going to be the better of those hand traps. Now, in the event that you can pull off the Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries against Purrely, I think it's going to be super, super key. Being able to hit the Plump or the Nor, if they already hit the Plump already, then regardless, you're going to go plus off of that exchange no matter what you do. But I would highly recommend go ahead and getting rid of the Plump, because Plump is going to be the better of the Xyz monsters that Purrely can make, being able to target two spells traps in the graveyard to attach them. So if you get rid of this, it's going to really severely slow down the deck as far as how quickly it'll be able to snowball. So that's going to be it for the monster side for counters that will be able to affect Purrely. For the spells, we already talked about XYZ Encore. I'm not going to go ahead and rehash that. It's pretty much something that, you know, we already went over or we looked at. Also, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't want to make this video too long. But again, I just want to make sure you guys have the information. So, Herald of the Abyss, this is nothing new. I mean, this card has been essentially played for a few months now. It's counter Purrely, as in theory, of course. So Purrely has not been a prevalent deck until probably this past few days. Again, I am pre-recording. This is Saturday. This one I'm going to release Wednesday or Thursday. There might already be a ban list, so don't mind me. Anyway, so pay 1500 life points, declare one monster type and one attribute. Your opponent must send one face-up monster with a declared type and attribute from the field to the graveyard if possible for the rest of the turn. Your opponent cannot activate effects of that monster sent to the graveyard with that monster's name. So this is going to be probably one of the best cards because you can already search this out immediately with Triple Tactics Tasking, which is amazing. Or Triple Tactics Thrust, I should say. I keep getting the OCG name. Triple Tactics Thrust. Or I forget which one is the OCG or TCG. I already sold my copy. I don't need to know the name. You guys know what I'm talking about. So you can easily go ahead and search this guy out with that card, number one. Number two, you are getting rid of it, but you are not directly affecting it. You're affecting the player, so therefore, because you are not removing it from play, or your opponent is, whatever, then the field spell and the continuous spell are not going to be able to go off, which is a huge plus. And 1500 life points is such an easy, such a low cost to just completely do away with everything they were working for. So I think that's super huge. Another big one, of course, is going to be the Secret Village of the Spellcasters, as well as Anti-Spell Fragrance. I didn't put that one in here, but Anti-Spell Fragrance as well, because the Purrely deck works similarly to the Sky Striker deck, where it's all going to be spells, and you need all the spells in order to be able to go ahead and do your things. But none of the spells in the Purrely deck can counter these because they don't necessarily pop spells traps. So they have a lot less they can work with when it comes to that. So that is something to keep in mind as well. So Secret Village of the Spellcasters, Anti-Spell Fragrance is going to be huge against the Purrely strategy overall. Next, for the traps are going to be good against this deck. A D Barrier is an easy call. Call Xyz and you're good to go. Call it a day. Macrocosmos is the same thing. Flip it and you call it a day. What are they going to target in the graveyard? There's nothing to target, so they can't. Again, it slows down what they were trying to do immensely. Like, it's night and day. Next card is going to be really good, and the last card I want to say, or second to last card, I have Skill Drain and Baguska, number 41. So these are pretty much the exact same card. Anything that would blanket effect continuous, just negate every monster on the board, is an auto win against Purrely, is an auto win against Six Samurai as well. Okay, not Six Samurai, I keep doing that. Super Heavy Samurai as well. Don't get me wrong, Super Heavy Samurai can still pump out some really big monsters on board, so it affects it less, and this is why I only have it in the Purrely side. But having that being said, we're going to transition to Super Heavy Samurai here in just a second, but without the monster effects of Purrely, it is a very underwhelming deck. So this is something that Purrely players are really going to have to take into consideration. Playing cards like MST, Cosmic Cyclone, Twin Twister, Harpy's Featherstorm, Harpy's Feather Duster, whatever it might be, in order to get rid of these cards, or make sure that they're not even a factor. Maybe play some like Royal Decrees in the deck. Anything that counter trap cards. Trap Eater might be a good option as well. These are potential options you can go ahead and play if you're a Purrely player. I just think you definitely need to watch out for these cards because they're going to be blanket effects, going to be up there for the entire turn. And with the Time Morganite card that lets you draw twice per turn, I really think the True Draco is going to increase in viability. And that's a card, as a deck no one's talking about. I understand that, and I'll give you guys my profile on that here as soon as I get the 3 Morganite. But realistically, that deck could very easily come back because it can play 3 Skill Drain, 3 what's it called? 3 Macrocosmos. It can play 3 Summon Limit, no problem. It can play all the nasty floodgates, and whenever it impacts itself, it just tributes it, you know, and then you go from there. So that is something that's going to be super huge. If you guys want to check out the True Draco deck profile, make sure you subscribe down below, and I'll get that to you guys as soon as possible. So let's head over to the Super Heavy Samurai side, guys. We have number 1 culprit for Super Heavy Samurai is going to be the Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode. So Winged Dragon of Ra Sphere mode is probably going to be the hardest thing to go up against as a Super Heavy Samurai player, because yes, naturally you're ending on anywhere from 3 to 4 monsters as long as you don't mess up in your combo, and you should have a clean board from there. However, in the event that your opponent wants to go ahead and play a raw sphere mode, that's immediately getting rid of 3 threats from your opponent, and there's nothing the super heavy samurai player can do about it, because they don't play any spells, they don't play any traps, and essentially you're just tributing your opponent's monsters to tribute summon, so it's a summoning condition. There's nothing that can be responded to. I think Sphere Mode is going to go through the roof as far as viability is concerned. I'm looking to make sure that I find my copies in my bulk, so I make sure that I am prepared. But Sphere Mode is going to be one of the better side deck cards in this format, so make sure you keep an eye out for that, and make sure you pick up your copies before they get too expensive, which I actually have not done my market watch yet, so they might have already gone up, so just heads up there. So next going to be D Shifter. So Shifter is going to be absolutely detrimental to the Super Heavy Samurai strategy. It really just focuses on abusing the power of Soul Piercer in order to be able to regenerate over and over and over again, special summon it and send it to the graveyard, special summon, send it to the graveyard in order to continue searching your entire deck for cards you're going to need later on in your combo. But if you're going to be banishing each and every single copy of Soul Piercer, then none of them get the effects and they all get banished instead, and then you're good to go from there. So D-Shifter is going to come back as one of the better hand traps in this current format. It can actually also affect the Purrely strategy as well, so I would highly recommend looking out for Shifter. Now, I do want to go ahead and mention, before you activate any of these hand traps, Cyframe Gamma has come back into the format officially as one of the most well represented and obviously still one of the best hand traps in the game. So what you're gonna want to do is make sure that if you can hold off, okay, on setting a hand trap or activating your hand trap until they have committed a monster to the board. I understand it's very tempting to not do so, or to just do your own thing, whatever. You might be a better duelist than myself, but I would highly recommend you hold on to your D-Shifter, you hold on to your Droll Lockbird, you hold on to your DD Crow, Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom until a monster is committed to the board, especially with Super Heavy Samurai, just because they only play monsters in their deck, and for some crazy people like myself, play Sekka's Light, and that's the only spell trap they play. So essentially they are going to be playing Cyframe Gamma, so just be careful for that. Don't say you weren't warned, because I warned you. Next, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit can immediately hit the Prodigy Wakasushi or Wakaushi, and then pretty much destroys the entire combo from there, unless they of course have Soul Piercer in hand, in which case they just normal summon and do whatever they want from there as well. Next, Performer Pal 5 Rainbow Magician is a funny card, because I know it's funny and it's not funny. So it's funny because I saw this card and I'm like, okay, that's a decent card, I'm not gonna pick it up. And then I didn't pick it up, and now it's skyrocketed in price. So actually, I don't know where it is at the current moment. Like I said, I haven't done my market watch, but I did recover this card last week. If you guys stopped keeping up with the market watches, shame on you. But Performer Pal 5 Rainbow Magician is essentially it's a skill drain, right? Your opponent cannot pendulum summon, yada yada yada. If either player sets a spell trap on your field with this card in your graveyard, special summon this card. So if you have 0 set cards in your spell and trap card zone, all monsters you control cannot activate their effects or attack. So that is immediately huge against any strategy that's trying to go ahead and proceed with their play, right? DD Crow is huge against this strategy as well. Just being able to hit the Soul Piercer, again, hit the Soul Piercer and you're good, right? But there are instances where you may want to hit the Motorbike instead. For example, the usual 6 Samurai combo, how it goes is it makes sure that you're able to make Baron on like your 6 or 7 summon before you pendulum summon, and you go clean out from there. How do you do that? By activating Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon, and you target your Motorbike to special summon. So if you DD Crow the Motorbike, then they don't get to special summon that. That means they don't get Baron, and then that means when they pendulum summon, then you nib the crap out of them, and you're good to go from there. But that's just my opinion. So DD Crow can be extremely detrimental to the strategy, again, when combined with another hand trap, but still hitting the Soul Piercer is going to be really effective regardless. Droll Lockbird is probably going to be the best hand trap against this deck completely, because all the deck does is search and search and search for 10 minutes while it continues on with its plays. The best board it can make if you Droll Lockbird them is going to be number 41 Baguska though. So you do want to look out for that. If you're unable to play it, at least try to play around the Baguska. try to time the drone lockbird appropriately to a way to where they maybe are not able to make the Baguska. Make sure they can't get 2 level 4s on board, and so on and so forth, guys. I mean, essentially, there's a lot of timing that goes down with this, so it's something you're definitely going to look out for. Now, if you just don't care, you just want to go ahead and let your opponent do their whole thing, and you're playing Dinos, go ahead and keep Dark Ruler no more in your main deck, and you're good to go from there, because there's no way I'm going to be able to negate it, or anyone who is playing Super Heavy Samurai, they're not going to be able to negate this card. So that you just activate it, and you're free to go, and just pop all their monsters and punch for game. So that's enough said, really. Summon limit. As I said, this is going to be a very, very spammy deck. Now, a lot of players that are playing Super Heavy Samurai are teching in cards like, for example, Archfiend Eccentric that can go ahead and pop spell traps, and it is also a monster itself. Next up, we have There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One, of course, is a really, really good card. Just being able to go ahead and just stop them from spamming the board. Floodgates are going to be really, really good against this deck, just wildly. Macrocosmos, again, everything's going to get banished, so the recursion is out the window. Skill Drain, again, just being able to negate everything on your opponent's board. A lot of those last ones are similarly split amongst the Purrely and the Super Heavy Samurai strategy, but essentially, guys, what I wanted you guys to take away from this is these decks that are coming out of Cyberstorm Access, while they do have a very high ceiling, they are definitely not perfect decks, and they do have a lot of weaknesses to them, because they are still very, very fair decks. Nothing crazy about them, nothing unruly, nothing Zodiac-y about them where they just spam like crazy, or Pepe format where it was like you get monkey board and you just go off from there. So they are very fair decks. They do have their weaknesses, but they do have very, very high ceilings, and you do want to go ahead and look out for these. But that's going to be it for our counter guide for the Purrely and Super Heavy Samurai strategies that are coming out of the Cyberstorm Access set. What do you guys think about these two archetypes? Are they going to be the best set? Are these side deck options, are these counter options going to be enough to stop them from being the #1 decks of this upcoming format? Let me know down below, and we can go ahead and discuss it there. But without further ado, guys, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.